Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. The Raffle Socks. My ticket was the last but one drawn unwontedly from a pint mug on December club night. I could have chosen a silver and cellophane box of chocolates, which proved beyond doubt that the confectioner's budget for packaging had overtaken that for cocoa and sugar. But the Argyle socks, lying incongruously among half-full glasses and beer mats, seemed too amusingly in keeping with the club. They're grand chaps, but we do have our share of members who store their motorcycles in plastic bags and call on the insurance only when they reverse the car too far up the garage. So I chose the socks and went home to crow. Guess what I won? Next morning the joke had already worn thin. I'm a high percent natural fibre devotee. Not for me patterned foot pieces in 100 per acrylic. For motorcycling you need something to keep your feet warm, and these were designed to impress the MD with a nonchalant tug of a trouser cuff as you cross your legs and make some bold suggestion at committee. So I tucked them into my bellstaff pocket, fired up the Panther, and thundered out in search of a charity shop. Convenient it may be, but I still can't quite come to terms with the fact that motorcycles command free parking alongside those other categories deserving of sympathy and charity, the lame and the breathless. On that bright, cold afternoon, empty bays outnumbered bikes by 10 to 3, not including the entrails of a fourth motorcycle spilling between the legs of a thoroughly disgruntled man mountain. I'm not permanently cheerful, but I was riding a Panther, the sky was blue, and I was on an errand of charity, altogether guaranteed to light up a sunny disposition. Yes, I know how annoying it is when your world is falling apart and someone comes in grinning like an imbecile, but I couldn't stop myself from uttering, "Cheer up, it might be raining." His surly grunt as I rolled the Model 85 easily onto its centre stand deserved to see the back of my jacket, but I clocked the multicoloured spill of wires, and some crazed reflex went off in my brain. Like a seabird chick reacting to the approach of a parental beak, lunging upward in anticipation of the coming flood of regurgitated fish, I focused on that hydra head of coloured wires. In a flash I was a problem solver, a live wire with perfectly coordinated mind and hands. Identify the inputs and outputs and frame earths, and you will be rewarded by the rebirth of a machine in a denouement easily as exciting as the moment when lightning struck life into Dr. Frankenstein's creation. "What's up?" I asked, feigning an innocence of motorcycle electrics. How could a modern lowrider know that he was now in the presence of a man who had taken on Miller's voltage regulator and emerged with sanity intact? "Damned immobilizer," he mumbled to the gutter. Mobility and motorcycles. That for me was the entry point. A magic day when I didn't have to wait for a bus or stand for an hour up to the elbows in dishwater to secure a parent as chauffeur for my trip to town. Here was a machine to serve me subject only to the laws of physics. As an aside, if Isaac Newton had ridden a motorcycle instead of sitting about in the orchard, he would, by the laws of black ice and spilled diesel, still have discovered gravity. But, as I was saying, mobility is the key. And mobility was the one thing that my fellow riding giant didn't have. What he had was a several £1,000 sterling anchor and a big headache. I have a rule. In fact, I have quite a lot of them. There's the if it isn't broken, don't mend it rule, translated here from the American, and often mistakenly interpreted as if it ain't broke, don't maintain it until it does. But the tenet that I invoked silently that bright winter solstice afternoon was, if a man made it, a man can mend it. I say silently because I had already been labelled annoying passer-by, which was just a short step from smart arse, and could have been, given the circumstances, only a fist away from an F-off mate. Not every giant is a friendly giant. Problem solving is a process of stripping away. Until you tear back the wrapping, you won't come close to the problem, which in the case of those Raffle chocolates proves to be weight gain, as any giant will tell you. That is one of the reasons I have come to love the older machinery. There is no wrapping to penetrate. You can see what it does at a glance. Petrol and air go in here. A spark is made here and goes in here. You can follow the wire. Bang! The piston is thrust down here, turning this wheel, which turns this wheel and this via these chains, and in the time it takes to tell, you're there and halfway back. Why would anyone involve themselves in all that unnecessary complication? But all of this, including my observations on the problems of chocolate, I kept to myself, as, like Jack, I sidled up beside the giant. As is so often the case, his difficulty was in separating the problem from surrounding distractions. He was trying to breathe life into dead electronics, but to me the focus needed to be how the circuitry was blocking out his simple command at the switch. Ignition on. He already had the alarm battery out, so was no longer the subject of suspicious glances from Christmas shoppers. I made some tentative suggestions and dropped a couple of names so he would know I was familiar with Andre Ampere and Alessandro Volta. In the finish, all it took was a simple hot wire of ignition and lighting. Tracing the circuits absorbed a pleasant hour, and the sun was long gone when we finished, but his bike was strategically placed under a lamppost. As we removed the last fragments of immobility, the giant nipped across to a burger van just before they pulled down the shutters, and got a couple of plastic cups of something hot, brown, and beyond analysis. The sound of the starter and that unsteady V-twin beat was music to our ears. Only came in to get a present for my dad, he said. The charity shops would also be closed, I thought. But wait, I could give him the Raffle Socks, and if he agreed to make a donation to charity, all loose ends would be neatly tied. I drew them from my pocket. No, he spat. When you rolled up, I thought, here we go, one of those old bike wankers who think the modern stuff is all too complicated. And he fell into a chant. What do you want press buttons for? What's wrong with a Kickstarter? And why is everything hidden under plastic? I want to see the cogs moving and smoke coming out. Oh yeah, my dad'd be really pleased if I give him patterned socks." He was already strapping up his space helmet, the monster grumbling beside him. "Ta, mate, I owe you." He gave me a wave and chugger-chugged beneath the Christmas lights. Probably for the best, because the panther was in a mood, I guess the evening damp, and I had to rebuild the mag before the old girl would start and take me home.